Hello everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, and you're with Simon today. And in today's video, I'm really excited to be integrating something new into some of the videos, talking a little bit more about the nature of human design and astrology. And I would say that for probably the last year and a half, I've been, well, actually 2 years, but more so over the last year and a half, I've been really intrigued to start sharing the combination of knowledge that arises from evolutionary astrology and also human design. And I'm super excited about it because there's something in the nature of these two sciences or forms of knowledge that can provide such intense clarity and such intense support in processing and digesting the nature of reality at the moment. And I hope today that I capture your sense of intrigue as I combined human design into this conversation today. This is my first video on this, so I hope that I'm going to be able to find the synthesis within my own sort of cognitive awareness, as well as still bring the nature and the depth and the complexity that I love to dive into when I explore these things. So, as you can see, this video has got the picture, as I always like to use to convey the deep truth that I sense and feel within the astrology, and the human design chart. And it's fascinating to me because we have a bunch of energy alignments at the moment that are activating some tremendous layers of energy that exist beneath the surface. Okay, so let me try to put this in this way. When I perceive and understand and feel into the layer of the energy, I'm always seeing it and sensing it as multiple layers of expressions on top of multiple layers of expressions, right? And so the best way to convey this would be like if you had to look at a rock strata, or if you had to look at a tree, and you had to cut the tree in half and you would see the rings layers, right? Well, each layer reflects a expression of consciousness, all right? And they hold flavors. And this type of imagery allows us to connect to the depth at which our reality is essentially being influenced, formed, and how we, in a sense, like experience it, okay? So that's why when you come across a lot of work, sort of like spiritual teachings and stuff like that, you'll notice that the word embodiment is a key ingredient, or understanding how the body interacts with this reality. This is kind of like a key ingredient. And the way I interpret slash internalize as well as connect to that is simply that the physical form itself, right, our physical bodies itself hold the space for consciousness to be integrated into. So when you study evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green used to talk about the relationship between Saturn and Neptune in the chart as the spiritual path, because he was essentially reflecting that Saturn would represent the physical dimensions of yourself, which is, your immediate sense of reality and how you can feel things and touch things, and there's a gravity behind that and you can know it's there. And then you have the invisible world, which sits just outside that and worries in constant contact between the physical and non-physical. And so the interesting thing about the astrology today and the human design today is that it's hitting a point within this fabric of reality where the origin of this mutation that is taking place for us, or the origin of the current shifting in our reality at the moment, is being highlighted, okay? And it's fascinating because, again, if for those of you that have been following my work for some time and you watched a video that I'd created a presentation a while back on the cardinal cross. Sorry, not the cardinal cross, the mutable cross. You'll know that I'm deeply interested in the generations, and particularly at the moment, those that are born with Pluto in Virgo, and the correlation between the Pluto and Virgos and the Pluto and Sagittariuses, which are the ones that are, still between the ages of, I would say, 11 years and say 22, I think, 22, 23, just roughly around that edge, right? And the interesting synchronicities that I found in terms of the current world that we are experiencing, i.e. that we are embodying, and that's the point about the embodiment process, was that we are embodying a trajectory of energy, and as we embody that or assimilate that into our field, we are awake to the process. So the correlation that I was deeply excited about and have been wanting to share for quite some time has been around the significance of what was the point of origin in which this need for rebellion against the pre-existing structures that are essentially in the physical world at the moment, and the collapse of these structures and the reformation of a new world that is rooted in an entirely different paradigm of being. And so I tracked it to the Pluto and Virgo generation with Uranus in Virgo and Pluto in Virgo, and there was a new phase conjunction that was taking place. And that new phase conjunction representing deep outer planets, and this outer planetary energy of Pluto and Uranus would essentially sow the seeds for the awakening of our world as we see it today. So the world that you see today in the reality is a manifestation of what I perceive to be the new seeds that were emerging into our collective awareness and around about 1965, where Uranus and Pluto made this conjunction. And I don't want to go too deep into it, and I'm not asking you to try and figure it out at the moment, because that's not the point of today's conversation primarily. This is an update, an astrology update, and I will be doing a video, maybe even with Jen, around the context of what this conversation is really about, and how that correlates to the way in which we as human beings are interfacing with this reality. So as an example of what I mean when I say interface, I mean we have technology in our world right now that hasn't been around for a long period of time, and we're learning how to interact with this technology. And for a lot of us, we're noticing some shadow aspects that you can see, and for other people, we're sort of embracing it, and we're manifesting some really, really intriguing progressions in the way that technology is helping us as a human race move into, whatever it is that we are moving into. So there's a tremendous depth to this process, and I've been hesitant to kind of just speak about it because I feel that there needs to be some more grounding around it. But today definitely sparked this this theme again for me. So the imagery that you see on the screen at the moment captures it so beautifully. And that is that we are, in a sense, gazing into the ocean of our awareness. In other words, the gazing is the man standing in this arc of these rock formations, and he's gazing into the universe. He's gazing into the nature of our existence. We're always seeking to understand the nature of our existence through the observation of this outer world. And what's interesting is that when we apply the context of as above, so below, you can see how this is also speaking to, as we gaze outwardly to search for the deeper meaning of our existence, we also know that we need to do that at a polarity, in other words, inward as well. And so the more we explore inwards, the more the universe expands outward, and the more that we expand outward, the more that we understand ourselves inwardly. And this is very much a Neptune or a Virgo Pisces theme, okay, where we have the macrocosm and the microcosm. And we're standing in the portal of change, and I say this because the nature of the change itself, and the context of why I'm integrating human design and also showing you the astrology, is that this change again that we're experiencing, we're feeling, we're a part of, it's so elusive and so out there in the way that we're trying to figure it out. And yet what's really interesting, at least from human design's perspective, is that the actual energies that are at play, i.e. the energies that are in a sense influencing this change, exist outside the body. And it was really fascinating when myself and Jen were talking about this today, as she was pointing to some material that the person that brought human design, through to us, called Ra, he was doing, some conversations around these two hexagrams, and what he was bringing to the process was that within our reality we have Virgo and Pisces. And in fact, I'll actually go to the chart itself, just so that everybody can actually have a visualization of it for those of you that need that. So here's the chart at the moment. Okay, so I'll pause there and kind of refocus here. So here's the chart of the moment. And there's so much to talk about that I don't even know where to begin. It's like I don't even know how to conceptualize the context of enormity that is occurring in this chart. It's nuts. And I'm going to do my best in every sense of the word, but you really do not know or have an idea of how much of these energies at the moment are speaking to the layers of archetypal themes that are embedded in the collective consciousness beyond. They're like, it's so deep. It's so deep. It's like Jupiter is sitting at 15 degrees Sagittarius. It's on the south node of Uranus. Now, to begin even trying to understand the context of the south node of Uranus, you have to be able to grasp the idea of that reality itself is so multi-layered that it has a history, and the context of history is encoded in our historical experiences. It's the nature of the history, it's the nature of the past. And Jupiter is at the moment touching the memory banks of the collective's awareness, of an entire evolutionary cycle around the nature of belief and truth. It's like we are literally at this point in time with Jupiter having the ability to feel into the well of all of the types of reasons why humanity needed to give meaning to its life. Jupiter, Sagittarius, right? The Uranus in the south node, or south node of Uranus, is speaking to the collective's orientation, i.e. the relationship to why we use things like religion or spirituality to try and find meaning to our lives. And what's so deeply profound about this planetary energy at the moment is that the context of the history is already completed. It's already completed. It's that cycle of how we as human race found orientation and meaning in forming religious ideologies and perspectives and truths has completed. And so the essence of what is occurring for us right now is that we're all inwardly reorientating to a new truth that is more about our own self-awareness and awakening of our own inner state, and not about the need to find security in an authoritarian truth that exists outside of ourselves, right? And while that has already shifted in us and is already being burst into this world, we are simultaneously witnessing the literal collapse, the literal sort of like decay of the cycle that came before. So here we have this whole entire world that was established on principles and truths that once had meaning to us, that as a human race, we went, this is what it means to be human. And yet at the same time, we're in this thing, or the cycle is occurring, the new cycle is occurring, where it's manifesting and birthing into this physical form, or being prepared to be birthed into the physical form, in which the new orientation to truth and what it means to be human is here. It's like they're both present at the same time, and we're actually in the middle, not knowing or actually experiencing both of them, in the sense that the past is only visibly here because things take a time to decay physically. But the energy that supported that cycle of civilization and the way that we orientated ourselves, that energy has disappeared. It's long gone. So all we have is a distant memory in the physical world of the history of what we did. And simultaneously, we are sensing, feeling, subtly trying to understand and process and go, but I don't want to actually get into this rat race thing, and I don't believe that this is the way that life should be. And I'm awakening to the fact that just because a magazine tells me that this is how I've got to look, that's what my self-worth is about. And there's depth to me, and there's more to my experience. And who says that you have to do that? And why do you have to do this? And just because the world said that you had to have a house with a big car and family and all of those things, that's not right for me. And this process of individuation is literally like materializing itself onto the field, and yet it's not actually physically here. And so psychologically, we're entrenched in terms of the grief and the processing of their past, and yet simultaneously filling this anxiety around the context of what is emerging in us because we don't know what it is. That's just Jupiter on the south node bringing up the memory field of the progression of our future and the remembrance of our history. And then you have Saturn on the south node and Pluto. We've already had a Pluto-South node conjunction. It literally manifested itself in one way as the Notre Dame building burning, right? The sort of like the masculine energy in its dominance coming to an end, and the progression of the integration of both feminine and masculine principles together as they're combined, and the reorientation of what a world looks like when both of them are simultaneously balanced and not just purely feminine or just purely masculine, but that, And so then you can see that the South Node, Saturn, Pluto, all trining Uranus, trining Uranus, Saturn at least, trining Mars, Venus, Mercury, the Sun, all in Virgo. Okay. And you can see how there's this interesting T-square happening between Jupiter in Sag, Neptune in Pisces, and all of the stuff in Virgo. Now, when I mentioned to you about the Pluto and Virgo generation, most of you have Pluto, well, obviously you have Pluto and Virgo. Most of you have Uranus in Virgo there. Some of you have Uranus in Libra, some of you have Uranus in Leo. But for the most of you that have got Pluto and Uranus in Virgo, you're going to be feeling this energy, man. You're going to be feeling this energy like nobody, right? And yet, as well, let's take a look at the moon at the moment. The moon's sitting in Scorpio. Now, how many of you know that Neptune has planetary nodes? Do you know what a planetary node is? Right? Again, looking at the planetary nodes of Uranus. Neptune's planetary nodes sit in the archetype of Aquarius and Leo. All right? So you know how you see here, you've got the south node of the moon and the north node of the moon there? Well, Neptune has its own nodes sitting here. Where's Aquarius? There, it's sitting at like 9 degrees Aquarius. That's the south node of Neptune. And the north node of Neptune is sitting here at about between 7 and 9 degrees Leo. So whenever the moon or any planet, right? So let me put it this way. Whenever there's a planet hitting this part of the chart over here, i.e. Scorpio, 9 degrees Scorpio, and when you have planets in Taurus, squaring like in there between 6 and 9 degrees, you're going to have what? You're going to have energy squaring the collective's sense of spiritual meaning in their lives. So Sagittarius or Uranus is just talking about the memory field associated with how we orientate our individuality. Neptune speaks to the deep cosmic line in which humanity is experiencing its awakening process. So And for those of you that are interested in this, in the link below, I'll actually post a video I did on the planetary nodes of Neptune. It's a presentation, and I'll post it in there for you guys to watch. So here you have Uranus sitting, making a square to the planetary nodes of Neptune, and here you have Moon crossing over the planetary nodes of Neptune as we have this entire like conjunction taking place here. And the point I'm trying to make is that the planetary nodes of Neptune are being awoken at this point in time simultaneously, while the point of origin that initiated the cycle of completion, right, the cycle of completion for our previous civilization. So as we're having these sensitive points hit with Mars, Sun, Mercury, Venus, all on the origins, the seed, right? That's why the Pluto and Virgos will be feeling it, because you'll all be feeling that all of these planets on your Pluto. The point of origin sits there in Virgo. And the thing that I'm trying to convey to you guys here is that Uranus and the Moon are opposing, are squaring the planetary nodes of Neptune, okay, right, at the exact time that we have Neptune square Jupiter, Neptune square the planetary nodes of Uranus, Neptune oppose all of these things, yeah? And what's Neptune sign in? Pisces. It's like, how clear can you see that right now we are literally experiencing the point of origin that happened in 1965? We're witnessing the phase that initiated the culmination of reality and the civilization. We're witnessing the phase of completion, but it has already occurred. That's the thing that's just so intense, is that it's already occurred, because the fact that it's already occurred is the reason as to why we see a world that is in such decay. And you'll see that people's sense of security is attached to the past, and all they fear is chaos. And our sense of security that's attached to what is happening going forward is filled with anxiety, darkness. What do we do? So the only place that you can truly be safe within and centered within is within yourself. It's on the most immediate place. Yeah. And that's why I think people like me, for instance, and a load of other people out there that are maybe not even on YouTube, but have a sense of wanting to do this, or that can sense this and feel this. And we go, hey, by the way, we've got something cool to share. And then so many of us are looking on the internet to try and figure it out. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that is a manifestation of it. What is going on? And this is my silly attempt to try and help with that process, because really I'm trying to help myself on the level as well, you know? It's just profound. So what you're experiencing right now, what we're witnessing right now, is the energies that are literally showing us that this is the phase, this is the point in which a switch is taking place. And this, and the progression of the ending cycle has already occurred, and the new energy is still being brought into the physical form. And that process of coming into the physical form is associated with what we're seeing right now. It's like we're seeing the energy in process, in real time. We're watching how the shifting is taking place and what is occurring for us. And you can feel it in your life right now. I want to pop over to the human design chart quickly for everybody so that you can see this. Okay. Let me just get my things back over here. Okay. So firstly, for those of you that have never seen human design before, what you're looking at is called a rave mandala. Okay, human design defines the chart as a rave chart, your rave chart, and the mandala is the symmetry of planets as we see astrology. We see these little funky little cool things that looks like a body graph, right? That's what it's called, with all these like little squiggly lines and centers and stuff like that, and these funny little numbers around the corner over there and a bunch of lines and stuff. This is called, well, this over here is the I Ching, okay? And the I Ching represents to us the cycles of change. So a beautiful way to illustrate this, as I see it, is you see how we have the sun and the moon, and the sun brings awareness, masculine, and moon brings reflection, feminine. And these lines over here indicate to us the nature of how the yin and the yang, it's like darkness, feminine, into light, masculine, into darkness, feminine, and the cycles, right? It's super cool and profound. And here you can see the planets where they are. So there's Pluto, there's the South Node, there's Saturn. They're all sitting in Capricorn. But when human design, they take into consideration what is called the gates, right? In the rave, in the I Ching has 64 hexagrams. These 64 hexagrams reflect subtle nuances of energy and the expression of the energy. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I do encourage you that if this looks cool and interesting to you and you want to learn more about this, that Jen, who actually brought this awareness to me, by the way, because she was like, oh my God, you have to listen to the 63, 64, because I have my Mars and Venus there. My Mars and Venus sit there in the gate of completion, right? Before completion. And it was just fascinating because I'm having a Venus return at the moment and a Mars return. And I was trying to understand the context of these planetary energies in a deeper way. And it just light bulbs just went off this morning. And so what I wanted to say was that if this is interesting to you, Jen is actually holding an immersion course. So she is teaching those that are interested in human design to learn more about your body graph, to learn more about your way that you understand this material. So in the description below is a link to go and check out what she does in her course. She's already like set it all in place. So I think Thursday and Sundays is when she's got her courses. And this is a brilliant way to be able to really understand how this material is so incredibly important right now. And let me tell you why. So here we have this rave mandala, and the philosophy of human design, very, very briefly, speaks to how we can navigate going forward in a world where the external authority and structures, which I've just explained to you, are in decay, and that there's no life force giving it to it anymore. It's just dead. It's gone. How do you navigate yourself? How do you actually orientate yourself? What is it that you do to be able to for certainty about how do you make decisions? And human design allows you to be able to get into contact with your own unique signature and essence. So to me, evolutionary astrology shows the beautiful symmetry of how the cycles of unresolved material are here to be processed through. And human design gives you the tool to understand how you can be your own authority, so that when you are in contact with needing to make a decision, or you know what's right for you, this little body graph over here helps you go, okay, well, don't make a decision from that place, but this is where you should make decisions from, because that's who you are and you can trust that. That's why the course is so incredibly valuable, because it like brings you so deep into your awareness that when you're actually navigating this place, you're not worrying about, oh, do I need to, or should I? It's like, oh, I'm actually exactly where I need to be in this moment right now. And as energy comes to me and reveals to me the next step, I know how to interact with it, you know? So in the description below is a link to go check that out. I encourage any of you that are interested in this or like this or find fascination in it or are seeking that sense of guidance. She's a projector. That's her job. She's here to guide people, you know? So in the description below is a link. Let me come back to this human design thing here. So I want everybody to see, I don't know how clear it is on the screen, but there, okay, in the screen at the moment, the Earth is sitting in, let me just make the screen a bit bigger. I'm going to do this. Sorry, guys. Do apologize. I'm super excited. All right. So here's my cursor. There's the 64 and there's the 63. Those two gates, okay, that's what they're called. They're called gates. Each of these little numbers are called gates, and what they actually reflect is the 64 codons of the DNA strand. So basically, human design tells you how your DNA is operating through the activations and awarenesses there. So here you have the 64 and the 63. And in the 63, you have the Earth. Human design considers the Earth as an important aspect of understanding the symmetry of our awareness, of course, because it's where we ground things. It's the embodiment process. And here you have the Sun in the 64, right? So they're in Virgo, Sun 64. In Pisces, the opposite of the Sun, the Earth, the duality, right? Sun and Earth, integration, sitting in the 63. And this is the cool thing, right? This is the cool thing. The 64 is called after completion. Okay, sorry, before completion. And the 63 is called after completion. And what they're basically saying here in terms of our material is that the 64 speaks to the process of life when things are completed. So the process of what it happens outside of the physical realm. And that's why I'm saying to you that when you look at the astrology at the moment and you tap into the context of the energy, the reality of what is emerging, we're witnessing where the energy is no longer there. There is no longer energy in the world that supports patriarchal beliefs and truths. There is no more energy that supports this outer need for governmental structures and regimes and belief systems and ideologies. It's gone. And the 63 speaks to the process where, as energy, like, so when you die, for instance, your body moves to an outer field, and then we process in the bardo, we process outside our physical form the nature of the existence of our life. So we are at the moment in this kind of weird nebulous space where, on one side, the existing world has completed itself, the cycle is ended, and we're outside of that going, huh, that's interesting. Like, check that out over there. Look what happened. Like, in the Victorian era, women were treated as if they were lesser, as an example, and we had all these weird clothings, and there was lots of shame and all of this type of stuff. And then men rose to power, and they were in power, and there was a lot of oppression of feminine energy, and that created this, and that created that, and we're all like seeing it there. But the moment you get involved in the process as if it's actually what you need to get involved in, you're screwed. So my advice to you is that as you look at the world right now, do not get involved in it in the sense of like, I've got to try and fix it, because you're going to fix something that is inherently just a mere memory of what we were. Okay? And the 63 speaks to the process. This is the Virgo process, right? So many of you, when you study astrology, what you really need to be studying is life, not the friggin' descriptions that are there on the internet about Pisces means this. It's like, study life. Because when you study the concept of the macrocosm and the microcosm, you'll get Virgo Pisces. Because Pisces as itself is the context in which the cycle has completed. And when the cycle is completed and you're observing, like once you've finished a book, you sit and observe the context of the book. You feel into the experience of what you read. And it sits in the ether for you. As I explain when I teach my astrology students about Pisces, it's the process in which things are completed. Right? It's outside of the realm of the experience. Right? So it's a memory in that sense, and it's you're processing the context of it, and you're bringing the wisdom from it. So we're bringing the wisdom from the past and going, okay, human beings, fossil fuel helped us at some point, but now it's not really that great, So let's try something new. That's the process. We're looking at our history and saying, well, you know what, maybe we should cut down on the amount of plastic we're using, as an example. Or maybe there's a bunch of things that we could do differently. Maybe using corporal punishment as an example to, instill fear into people that didn't want to obey the rules. It's not really that a good thing, considering the fact that most people's sense of trust is broken. Okay, shit, now we're aware of this stuff over here. But if the moment you start judging it as if it's bad and we've got to ban these types of things, and then you're screwed, because at that moment you're getting involved in something that is really completed. So we're extracting the awareness out of this reality and we're bringing it into the new. So we're in this process of taking from the world that and looking at it and saying, okay, we don't do that, we don't do that, we don't do that. This is helpful, this is helpful. And we're in the process of bringing it into, and it's called, so before completion, after completion, 63, right? It's in the head center over there. It's called the head center in human design. The 63 speaks to the moment where we're about to reincarnate. We're about to move into something new, right? So as we move into something new, we're preparing for a new experience. And how many of you understand this process? As we complete something, we bring the memories of the process, and then as we're about to enter something new, we're preparing for it. We prepare for this video. We prepare for the new day of school. We prepare for that. And as we prepare based on the memories of what we maybe experienced before, or the insights that we would like to change and adjust. And that's where we are. We're in this kind of weird, and the best part about it is that this realm is not actually in the body. It's not actually in the physical form, because it's all there in the ether. Because Virgo Pisces is the energy of interchange. So it's fire energy, Aries, all the way to Leo. And then it stops, and Virgo interchanges everything and adjusts, and then it becomes objective reality. Subjective reality, Leo, Aries to Leo, interchange, Virgo, adjustment, objective reality, other people's self. The opposite of Aries is Libra. Opposite of Libra is Aries. Aries self, in terms of like, oh, this is who I am as I'm discovering myself. And that's, I'm watching other people do their Aries through the lens of others, Libra. Does that make sense? So Virgo adjusts this process as we readjust into something new, and Pisces reflects adjustment relative to the previous cycle, or the cycle that's completing. And as it gets into Aries, it begins again. So the human design at the moment, with the sun and the earth sitting in this gate in the 64 and 63, and it's a line one energy, meaning that this energy is laying the foundation. So in my human design, my profile, which for some of you understand human design, is a 1-3. I'm sure you probably gathered that by now, right? But I'm a 1-3 profile. So I'm always looking for the foundation in something, and then I'm always looking to see how I can restructure that foundation in a way that is solid and supportive, which is why you'll know that in my teachings and everything, and all of my students that study astrology with me, I'm always like, it's the 12 archetypes. Learn the 12 archetypes, have them done in a strong way, the foundation. And why do we need that? Because there isn't a bloody foundation there. So right now, the energy feels like this whole entire shifting of space between the old and the new. And right now, this energy is speaking to that there isn't a foundation. And we're literally in the process of feeling the anxiety of the no foundation there, right? So if you're feeling anxious right now, a part of that could be about that. Just incredibly profound stuff. Like I wrote some notes down here with the 64 after completion, pardon me. So the I've got it wrong over here. 64 after completion. So everything, as the cycle completes, you're sitting there in the Bardo state, you're outside the awareness, and you're observing everything. And before completion, 63. This is as it comes into form again, Virgo, right? And think about it like that. If you've got Virgo Pisces energy, think about how your life has always been about the process of observing cycles ending and observing it, and then feeling how you're preparing for the next cycle in that sense. Okay, my excitement levels have gone. I hope that I haven't sort of confused many people. I hope that I've brought some sort of interesting things to you. So yeah, I just want to, again, anybody that's interested in human design, the link's in the description below. The courses are set in motion. Go check it out. If you're curious about anything, please email Jen or myself. We will be happy to help you. Because the thing that I really love the most is that when Jen comes out of a class, or I come out of class, she's like, oh, I spoke to so-and-so and they were experiencing this and they had this really cool epiphany or this insight. And I just love to watch how people's progress takes place. That's part of my design. I like to watch progress. And so that's what super excites me about this in the way that we actually have these systems in place to be able to help us guide through this time where everything's just up in the air going, ah. Anyway, all right, peeps, have a fantastic day and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.